If you want to start making Infinity Nikki edits but you have no idea how to record your game, what OBS settings to use, or what to do with the footage afterward, I'm going to show you my entire process that lets me create content like this.
Don't call me darling, I'm too rude. You already said to me? He was like, you're so rude. And I was like, boy, it doesn't look like I can care.
So, step 1. How to record Infinity Nikki gameplay. There are a few ways to record your gameplay, including the built-in recording feature, but today I will focus on using OBS Studio to record gameplay. When you first open OBS, the interface can look like there's a lot going on, but we only need to set up a few things before we can start recording. Down here, we have our scenes and sources. I'm going to click the plus sign under Scenes, create a new scene, and name it Tutorial. Next, I'll go to Sources, click the plus sign, and choose Display Capture, and name it Test. Then I select the monitor where Infinity Nikki is running. A lot of other tutorials recommend using Game Capture, but for whatever reason, it has never worked with Infinity Nikki on my PC. So I personally use Display Capture, and I haven't noticed any issues. If you only have one monitor, you may see OBS repeating inside itself like an infinite tunnel with Display Capture. That is normal, and it happens because you are recording the same display that the OBS window is currently sitting on. You can minimize OBS after starting the recording, or go to Settings, then General, and enable Hide OBS windows from screen capture. One quick note, I personally don't record game audio because I usually edit my videos to music instead. But if you want your gameplay sounds in the recording, make sure OBS is capturing your desktop audio device. And check that the audio meter is moving before you start recording. You can also adjust the volume using the built-in slider. Now that we have our recording scenes set up, we can move on to recording settings. Next, I'm going to Settings and then Video. The base canvas resolution is basically the size and shape of my workspace inside OBS, while the output resolution controls the size of the recording file. Now this part depends on what kind of content you're making. Since I mainly post to TikTok, Reels, and YouTube Shorts, I record vertically in 9:16. If you're making a standard YouTube video, you'd typically record in 16:9 instead. For this tutorial, I'm only covering OBS settings for vertical short-form content. My video settings are 1440 by 2560 at 60 FPS because I like having that little bit of extra detail. I also keep my canvas and output resolution the same so OBS isn't downscaling the footage while I record. For FPS, I use 60 because it makes gameplay and camera movement look a lot smoother. But these settings can be a little demanding, so 1080 x 1920 is totally fine for nice HD clips, and I just recommend using 60 FPS if your PC can handle it. But 1080p and 60 FPS aren't requirements. If your computer is struggling to record at 1080p, 60 FPS, or both, try dropping down to 30 FPS or 720 by 1280. A lower resolution recording that runs smoothly will look much better than a higher resolution one that's laggy or dropping frames. Before we get into my output settings, I want to give you a little context about the PC I'm recording on, because this is where I really don't recommend just copying someone else's settings exactly. My CPU is a Ryzen 9 9900X. My graphics card is an RTX 4070 Ti, and I have 64 gigs of RAM. My game is also running on the highest settings available, so my PC is pretty strong and can handle playing Infinity Nikki while recording at the same time. You absolutely don't need the same PC or game settings as me. I'm just showing you this so you have some context for why the OBS settings I'm about to show work for my setup. If your PC is already working pretty hard just to run Infinity Nikki, you may need to use lighter recording settings than I do. Now we're going into the output settings. OBS gives you two options here, Simple and Advanced. I personally use Advanced because it gives me more control over the recording quality. We really only need to pay attention to a few settings here. First is the recording format, which is basically just the type of video file OBS creates. I record my clips in MP4 format. Next is the video encoder. This sounds complicated, but it's basically just the part of your computer OBS uses to create the recording while you're playing. I use X264, which means OBS is using my CPU or processor, but you might see completely different options on your computer. If you see an encoder with the name of your graphics card brand, like NVIDIA, AMD, or Intel, that's also a good option to test, especially if your computer struggles while using X264. So don't worry about having the exact same encoder as me. The goal is just to find one that lets your game and your recording run smoothly. Now we get into the settings that controls the recording quality. Mine is set to CRF. The important thing to understand about CRF is that it lets OBS adjust how much data it uses depending on what's happening on screen. My CRF value is 16, and CRF works a little backwards. The lower the number, the higher the quality. But higher quality also means larger video files. So my CRF of 16 gives me really clean footage, but my recordings can take up quite a bit of storage. You definitely don't need to immediately use 16 just because I do. The last setting I really want to point out is my CPU usage preset, which I have set to fast. A slower preset asks your CPU to work harder, while a faster preset is easier on your CPU. I use fast because my computer can comfortably handle it while I'm playing Infinity Nikki. If your game or recording starts lagging, this is another setting you may need to adjust. Okay, wow, that was a lot of settings, but don't worry, you really only need to remember a few things. Start at 1080 by 1920 for vertical content. Use 60 FPS if your computer can handle it smoothly, and drop to 30 FPS if it can't. Pick an encoder that works well with your PC, and always do a quick test recording before you film anything important. Here are some recommended output settings to start with, but your ideal settings will really depend on your PC. You don't need the absolute highest quality to make good edits. If your footage looks clear and records smoothly, that's what matters most. Now that OBS is all set up, we can finally start recording. For this example, I'm going to show you how to make a simple wardrobe outfit showcase using whimsicality animations, a style you've probably seen a lot in the Infinity Nikki community. First, open up the wardrobe and style the outfit you want to showcase. Once your look is finished, we can use the whimsicality animations to record a few poses and show it off. Before you start switching through animations, open the Whimsicality menu and make sure both Prioritize Current Look and Customize Outfit are checked. That'll stop the red pop-up from appearing every time you change animations, which makes recording a lot smoother. Once those are turned on, you can go back into the menu, pick the animation you want, and start recording in OBS. And this is what my OBS preview looks like while I'm recording in a 9:16 vertical format. And just as a reminder, you can do this with all of the ability animations, not just the whimsicality ones. After I record the animations I want, I'll usually go back and grab a 360 of the outfit too. One tip for outfit 360 or makeup showcases is to choose a clothing piece that changes Nikki's default wardrobe pose. It gives her a more interesting stance and makes the clip feel a little less static. I also recommend recording your 360s and makeup showcases from the die menu because it hides the top menu bar. Now that we have all of our footage, I'm going to bring everything into CapCut and start putting the edit together. I usually add my music to the timeline first because it helps guide me while editing. I usually grab the audio from TikTok, so I'm editing to the exact sound I plan to post with. For this one, I already have an old video saved with the song, so I'm just bringing that into CapCut and extracting the audio. Then I add the rest of my clips. Next, I'm going through my clips and trimming them down. You definitely don't need to use the entire animation. I usually look for the prettiest part of the movement or the moment where Nikki reaches the pose I want and only keep that section. I also cut out any pauses at the beginning or end so the edit keeps moving. Once everything is trimmed, I start putting the clips in order. This part is totally personal preference, but I usually like to start with a few animations, then show the full outfit with a 360, and finish with a close-up of the makeup and details. A couple of tips I have while editing here are, first, adjust the speed and timing of your clips to better match the music. If an animation feels too slow, feel free to speed it up or trim it down to just the part you want to use. Second, try arranging your clips around the lyrics or beat of the song. Matching the visuals to the audio can make even a simple outfit showcase feel a lot more intentional. Once I'm happy with my clips, I move on to transitions, effects, and adding text. A quick CapCut tip. Click this icon to preview how your video will look on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Instagram Reels. It overlays the platform UI so you can make sure your text and important details aren't getting covered and everything is spaced properly. And that's really all you need for a basic outfit showcase. You don't have to know a bunch of complicated editing techniques to start making Infinity Nikki content. Once you get comfortable with this basic process and learn how to show off your outfits in a way you like, you can start experimenting with more complicated edits, transitions, and effects later on. Here's the finished product. And that's it. This is my basic process for recording and editing Infinity Nikki content on PC. I hope this made OBS and editing feel a little less intimidating if you're just getting started. If this helped, leave me a comment and let me know what you want a tutorial on next. And subscribe if you want to see more Infinity Nikki content from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.